Brianna Turner has signed with the Indiana Fever per the WNBA transition page. Some depth for the Fever front court. She played for, again, I believe she played for Chicago.
Is officially underway, Annie. So when you see these names and the options that the Sky have, what do you think that they're cooking up?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because Angel and Camilla are very interesting pieces. And when you're talking about, getting the right players in here, there is intrigue when you have young core pieces like that, because you could be part of developing them and developing towards a title contending season. But the reality is the Sky are still very far from that. And
Indiana Fever just pulled off another big move. And let's just say not everyone is happy about it. Brianna Turner, a defensive beast and a seasoned player, had the option to stay with the Chicago Sky. But she didn't just walk away. She practically sprinted toward Indiana. And the crazy part, she took a pay cut to do it. That's not just a transfer. That's a message. A message that Chicago wasn't the place to be, and Indiana was building something too good to ignore. Now, Angel Reese. Being Angel Reese didn't take that too well. She tried to act like it didn't bother her, throwing out a casual, wow, just wow tweet. But come on, we all knew what that meant. That wasn't just surprise. That was frustration. First, Caitlin Clark's arrival already turned the league upside down, and now every key free agent is following her to Indiana like it's the hottest club in town. Meanwhile, Chicago? Yeah. They're looking like the spot you go to when your first 3 plans fall through. The Sky's situation is looking rough. They're in full rebuild mode, but instead of adding pieces, they're losing them. Marina Mabrey? Gone. Kennedy Carter? Not re-signed. Diamond DeShields picked another team. Now it's just Reese and Camilla Cardoso left from their starting lineup, and let's be honest, that's not exactly striking fear into opponents. Meanwhile, social media is having a field day. The trolling, relentless. Fans are throwing out lines like, y'all can keep Angel Reese and her missed layups. We got Caitlin Clark. Brutal. But let's be real. Chicago hasn't exactly given them a reason to talk back. Indiana is making power moves while the Sky are just there. And here's the thing, it's not just about talent. The Fever aren't just collecting good players, they're building chemistry. Aaliyah Boston kept it simple with her tweet, "Let's hoop." No need for extra words when the energy speaks for itself. The confidence in that locker room is on another level. Sophie Cunningham is probably somewhere smiling ear to ear, already picturing her first on-court clash with Reese. And the Fever's front office, they're just getting started. Caitlin Clark's impact is bigger than anyone expected. People thought she'd need time to grow into a leadership role, but Indiana isn't waiting around. The front office saw the potential, hit fast forward, and started stacking the roster with veterans who know how to win. Fever GM Amber Cox and coach Stephanie White didn't just get solid players, they got the right players. Players who complement Clark's style, players who fit the bigger vision. Now Reese? She's in a tough spot. Either she starts playing recruiter and convinces talent to come to Chicago, or she keeps pushing her usual everyone doubts me narrative. The problem? That mentality only works if you have the right pieces around you. Hustle and heart are great, but they don't win games by themselves. And right now, Chicago looks one injury away from complete disaster. Meanwhile, the WNBA's entire balance is shifting. The Aces and Liberty were supposed to be the super teams, but Indiana just crashed the party. And speaking of the Aces, they're starting to feel it. Kelsey Plum left, Chelsea Gray is still recovering, and Sydney Colson, the locker room glue, just joined Indiana. When players from championship squads start heading elsewhere, you know something's up. On the flip side, Fever fans are loving every second of this. Years of frustration, of hoping for a turnaround, are finally paying off. They're not just talking about making the playoffs anymore, they're talking about championships. And honestly, they might not be wrong. This squad has depth, defense, shooters, veterans, and a generational talent running the show. This isn't an underdog story anymore. It's a takeover. Meanwhile, Aces fans, they're starting to panic. Their MVP, Aja Wilson, probably checked Twitter, saw Brianna Turner signing with Indiana, and just sighed. The dominance that once seemed untouchable is suddenly looking shaky. Jackie Young is still there. Chelsea Gray is working her way back, but the energy? It's different now. And Sky fans? They're still trying to convince themselves that we still have Angel Reese is a valid argument. But where did that get them last season? Exactly. Reese can post all the motivational captions she wants, but a bad roster is a bad roster. No amount of social media hype can fix that. The funniest part? Remember when Cheryl Swoops said nobody wants to play in Indiana? Yeah, that take aged terribly, because from the looks of it, half the league just decided Indiana is the place to be. The Fever's front office is putting together a roster that has everyone second-guessing their moves. Other teams were hoping they had time to adjust to the Caitlin Clark effect, but Indiana skipped the waiting period and went straight to win now mode. So yeah, Angel Reese can keep talking about proving people wrong. But while she's tweeting, Caitlin Clark is out there draining threes and Indiana's front office is making moves that could change the league. The Fever aren't just keeping up with the game, they're 10 steps ahead. And if this offseason has been crazy, just wait until they actually hit the court. That's when things get really interesting.